Hi there, it's Bike Touring Mike here. Bikepacking setup usually consists of 3 different bags. A frame bag, a seat pack and a handlebar roll. And to get the most out of these 3 bags we need to pack our gear in a specific way. And that's what we're gonna do in this video. So let's start off with the frame bag first. The frame bag is a great place to store your heavier and denser items since it helps the bike's center of gravity to stay low, which in its turn helps the overall stability of the bike. Good things to store in here are your stove, your bike lock, tools, maybe a battery pack and fuel for your stove. I also store my tent poles and my tripod in here. And depending on whether you prefer to have a bolt cage mounted on to your down tube, there are a couple of different versions of frame bags. This one basically fills out the whole of my triangle, but I also have a smaller one that's basically just this top part of the frame bag. So I'm able to have a bolt cage mounted underneath the frame bag itself. Some frame bags comes with an outer zippered pocket where you can store easy to access things. However, mine just consists of one big compartment, and I guess it has to do with the overall waterproofness of my frame bag. The seat pack is a great place to store your lighter and bulkier items, such as your sleeping bag, extra clothes, and in some cases, food. With a lot of seat packs you might experience a little bit of tail wag, and that is when the bag sways from the right to the left due to the weight of the bag. Different brands handle this problem in different ways, but the golden rule is to pack your heavier items closer to the seat post and your lighter and bulkier items further out. A pro tip here is that if your sleeping bag comes with a compression sack, just ditch it altogether and just shove in your sleeping bag, and the seat pack will work as a compression sack in the end. The Handlebar Pack is also a great place to store lighter and bulkier items, since if you store heavier things here, this will affect the overall handling of your bike. So I usually store my tent, my sleeping pad, and a puffy jacket in here. I also make sure to store my tent and sleeping bag in different bags, since I have a down bag, and down gets very inefficient when it becomes wet or damp. Usually your tent and especially the rainfly gets a little bit damp from condensation during the night, so when you're packing it down in the morning it can be a bit wet. And you definitely don't want that moisture to spread to your down bag, and that's why I keep them separated. My sleeping pad, however, doesn't care if it gets a little bit wet, so that's why I usually store that with the tent up in the handlebar roll. In the best of worlds, these 2 bags should weigh about the same. But I'm sure that once you hit the road, you'll get a good feeling on what works best for your bikepacking setup. So remember in the beginning of the video when I told you that a bikepacking setup usually consists of 3 bags? Well, I lied. Well, sort of anyway. You could definitely go bikepacking with just these 3 bags, but if you crave some more ease and some more comfort, adding 1 or 2 extra smaller bags goes a long way. Especially to be able to access things that you might need throughout the day, such as your camera, your phone or snacks, without having to unpack either the handlebar roll or the seat pack. There are a couple of different solutions here, but the most common ones are either a top tube bag, a accessory pack, or a stem bag or a feed bag. And the whole point of having one of these smaller bags is that you're able to access things throughout the day without having to unpack the whole handlebar roll or the seat pack, for instance, which takes a lot of time. Another great way of carrying your gear is to use your forks, either with a cage or a bag mounted right onto the fork itself. But before you go ahead and start looking for cages and bags for this, make sure that your fork supports these cages. A lot of cages need a 3-hole mounting system to be able to be attached to the fork. And a lot of new bikes come with these 3 holes onto the fork. But if you have a bike with a suspension fork, chances are that these won't be on the fork itself. Therefore, you might want to go with the option that I'm going with. I have an Ortlieb mounting system here that can be attached to pretty much any type of fork. Since it uses a metal band to clamp onto the fork itself instead of having a hole drilled into it. Well, I think you might have forgotten one bag there, Mike. What about the backpack? Well, there is a good reason for that. Going bikepacking with a backpack is just asking for a lower back problem. Let the bike do all the heavy lifting. Plus, using a backpack is just going to mean that you're going to have a super sweaty back all the time. Well, I'm fine using a backpack for my daily commute. Why can I go bikepacking with a backpack? Well, that's since your daily commute is probably around half an hour, and here you're going to be sitting on the saddle for the better part of about 7 or 8 hours each day. And with that said, I actually do carry a backpack on my bikepacking trips, but it is a rather small one. It's a foldable one that I usually pick up when I go to a supermarket at the end of the day to pack all the things that I'm bringing to my campsite. And when I reach my campsite, I usually fold it up again and put it inside one of my bikepacking bags so I can use it again the next day. So what I've learned over my 8 years of bike touring and bikepacking is that you should never leave home with your bags fully loaded. Instead, leave some space for things that you might pick up along the way. And usually that consists of food, drinks and snacks. Another great tip is to go on a test run or 2 before you actually go on your bikepacking trip. This will give you the chance to see how your bike behaves under these conditions. And you also get the opportunity to move things around between different bags, or maybe skip out on 1 or 2 luxury items as well. So if you want to follow along on one of my bikepacking trips here in northern Sweden among reindeer and wild rivers, you can do so by clicking the link up in the right corner here, and I'll see you in that video. Otherwise, until next time, have a good one.